Hello, everybody. This is Modesta Mahigambu from Modesta.Africa, your executive leadership coach, career advisor, and business consultant. We're out here talking about how to negotiate to win. So, as I go on all the other platforms, do share the link with everybody that you know. We need everybody clued up, comfortable, and negotiating to win. So I'm going to say hi. That's you, YouTube. I'm saying hello to Instagram, fixing my hair in the process, and Facebook in a minute. Hello, my Facebookers. Let me get them on. We're talking about how to negotiate to win in times of crisis. This is Modesta Mahiga Buguni from Modesta.Africa, your leadership coach and career advisor, business consultant. Let's get Facebook to join us. All right, Facebook. Ooh, I have to look up for Facebook today. I don't want to do that. Facebook. They that own the phone that is doing Facebook need to open the phone so that they that are doing a live can get on. I'm on my husband's phone on Facebook. Listen, guys, please let people know that I'm on. Like I said, we share. This is how we're going to grow. This is how we're going to be competitive. And so this little thing here is really bothering me. So please do share far and wide. This is not just for you and me. This is for everybody, really, that is out there and they're negotiating either jobs or contracts with their business. We want everybody to win. So I'm getting on Facebook right now, and you guys will hear me introduce myself for the third time. I think YouTube is like, oh, Modesta, get it together. It is Modesta Mahigam Guni from, everybody can echo this, Modesta.Africa. I am your executive leadership coach, career advisor, and business consultant. And today I'm talking to you about how to negotiate to win in times of crisis. Let me start with what you do not do, even if we are in times of crisis. You do not say, things are so rough right now for me. This is what has happened in my home. This is what's happened to my kids. I just lost my job. And listen, I'm really desperate for this. No. That would not be the way to go to negotiation. Why? Because first of all, just think about this. The fact that you've actually gotten to a point where you're negotiating, right? Let me move YouTube a little bit. The fact that you've gotten to a point where you're actually negotiating your pay means your cover letter was reviewed and you came out tops. Your CV was reviewed and they thought you would be somebody to consider. And listen, all of these documents go through at least 3 reviews. It means that they spoke to you on the phone, or they wrote to you and you wrote back, or they spoke to you on the phone and you spoke back, and they like what you sound like. So everything about you is checked out, guys. So you are not going to say, I am so desperate, please give me this job. No, we will not. Because if you have made it this far, it means that you already have a bargaining chip. It means you can already leverage your experience. And the key word today is value. You can leverage the value that you had already stated so succinctly, so expertly in your cover letter and your CV that you have and you bring for the negotiation stage of your assessment, okay? So no, we're not coming in with a sad stories, even if we may have one, because actually what I came to realize is a lot of people have sad stories. We just don't all put our stuff out there. So no, if you have made it to a point where cover letter check through all the reviews, CV check through all the reviews, you've been called in, they want to speak to you, they have done the interview, and you probably have had multiple interviews, whether it is for you and your job or it's your business, to get to negotiation, child, girl, dude, guys, it means you're worth engaging with this organization. So we have to do this at a point where we esteem ourselves to be of great value. Otherwise, you would not have made it to the negotiation stage. Am I right or am I right? So we do not go ahead and say, look, I really need this. You do not understand what this crisis has meant. I'm out of a job. My spouse is out of a job. My child is out of a job. I've got school fees. We're going to become composed. And we're going to play the negotiation game. There is an entire art and science to negotiating. We do not, I've got a pencil today. We do not thank you, Aninka, loving you right back. We don't say, you know what, whatever you think is right for a person with my commensurate experience and No, you do not leave your value and your compensation. And remember, your career plan, you have professional, you have financial goals, you have family, personal goals. You don't leave that to a random person you met during the interview, no matter how you've connected with them. Don't say just, oh, whatever you think I am, I'm worth, you know the ranges, you know what people get paid. I understand you have your own scale. So whatever you think somebody like me is worth, no, no, no. And neither do you don't also go to them and say, hey, psst, on the side, because you connected with them, right? I mean, people, it's our job to build rapport. Yeah. You are trained to do that. We're trained to do that too. So when I am on the end of reviewing people, I'm interviewing people, I want you comfortable. As a matter of fact, let me tell you this. Oh, I'm spilling it all out there. Guys, by the time you're done with this series, you would have done so well. Please subscribe to Purpose and Excellence on YouTube. And then go to my career success playlist. I give you all the juicy secrets. Listen, we are trained to build rapport. And one thing that I found to be very effective when I'm interviewing candidates is when I can get them to be comfortable with me. And you guys know I'm a chatty person. You know I quite rub up on a person. Because then when they let their guards down, the true them comes out. Because, interview gets you tense. I'm out here, I'm being assessed. And no matter how seasoned you are, people get tense. So as a recruiter, as an HR professional, I have been known to get very comfortable and to make you very comfortable, because then you just say whatever's on your mind. And there are times I remember there's a context where I work for a manufacturer. And let's say, this interview is going to go through certain stages. And so at some point, you're doing lunch with us at the canteen. And people will be like, so Sister Modesta. Nobody's your sister, okay? Especially the African culture. So calling people your sister, your brother-in-law, sister-in-law, your auntie, your uncle. No, you have to come up professional. Please, please. So people are like, Sister Modesta, so you work here and everything, and I know you are for me and you think I'm a good candidate. So what should I negotiate? Hey, slow your roll. I am not on, no. I'm engaged where I am. I am on the side of the employer. Okay, I am going to get you in and we're going to follow due process. We're not going to on the side. So how should I negotiate? That's on you. That's why I'm doing this now. Like when I get this hat off and I'm doing this live and you see me in a context where I am with my client. I actually had this conversation with somebody recently. I referred them for this role with a client. And then they were like, on the side. I'm like, listen, I represent my client. So if you don't stop this conversation, it's going to work against you. I represent them. So no saying, hey, whatever you think is right for me. No saying, why don't you tell me what this thing is worth so I can negotiate, right? None of that. No saying, if you cut me some, I'll give you some. Because I actually also had another incident when I ran a recruitment company where somebody was like, if I let you into this company, will you also give me a cut? And one of my employees actually said yes. Her and the person who tried to get that thing, they were both, I booted out my person, terminated their employment. We don't do that. We don't bribe. So don't try to bribe people. Prepare. This is why we have today's session. And this is why you need to share this far and wide, please. You're sharing this so that other people can understand what it takes for you to negotiate to win. If your cover letter, your CV, your interview checked you out and you probably had multiple levels of assessment, it means you're good enough. So don't blow it at this stage. Don't blow it at the interview stage. Okay. So this is what you do. Please remember that you have your own personal goals. Remember when we started out with a career plan? You're like, oh, wait, I missed that live. Well, you can go watch it on YouTube. Go to Purpose and Excellence on YouTube and you will see that career planning live. So do go back and consult your plan. Actually consult your spouse or significant person that you're doing life with and have a conversation about you going in, being called to negotiate this, whether it is a salary that, you as the individual are going to partner with an organization. What's Anika say? If your stuff is great, you don't need to, right? Mic drop. If your stuff is great, you don't need to on the side. Actually, if you've made it, that's why it means your stuff is great. So let's relax. Go and check through your plans. Who am I? Where am I? It's serious business. This is how you make decisions about your future. So you ask, given who I am, where I'm going, given my professional goals, you're going to see today when you're negotiating how you don't just think about the money, by the way. Think also of your professional goals, right? Where are you going? Think of your professional goals. You think of your financial goals. You think of your family goals. Because you might be asked to relocate. You might be asked, you might also have to negotiate not just the pay. You negotiate work terms. You negotiate tenure. There are a lot of things to consider. I know money is important, but there is more. So you remember the plan that you had. That's number one. What are my goals and when did I want to reach them by? So that when you're negotiating over this pay, if it's, a job that you're offering to align with a company with, or it's your business, then you understand what your personal and your business goals are before you sign on the dotted line. No, that's number one. Number two, you need to write down your value. So the first thing is, remember that you have a plan. If you don't have a plan, guys, I did a whole video on how you can do your career plan. And I have an entire service that I offer. So you can go to modesta.africa/work with me and you will see. But now, you remember your plan, number one. Number two, know your value. Please do not get into a bout going back and forth with recruiters about money. Then you just sound like you're money hungry. It sounds like this thing to you is just shilling signs, dollar signs, or whatever your currency is sign. So instead, what you're going to do is state your value, which you would have already started showing in your cover letter. Go to Purposeful Excellence YouTube channel, and you can see under the Career Success playlist how to write a compelling cover letter. In your CV, you'll also find a video on Purposeful Excellence YouTube channel, how to write a competitive CV. You would have already, even in your conversations during your interview, and I have a video on how to ace your interview, you would have already shown your value. Why? Because you focused on metrics. You focused on something that can be quantified, whether it is qualitative skills, the value you added when you were in previous engagements. Remember, you are assessed not based on what you say you can do, because anybody will say they can do all kinds of things when they're in a situation that they're negotiating, a potential engagement, right? People don't assess you on what you're saying you theoretically maybe could do should you be given the chance. People want to know what you have done in the past, if you've done it frequently, if you've done it recently, because then it gives an indicator that it is in you, that you have internalized. It's probably a habit right now, and you will exhibit those competencies. What are competencies? Knowledge, skills, and attitude that they're looking for this role, should they hire you. So remember the value that you bring. And if you can put a number to it, you can talk about the savings you've made. You can talk about, the added revenues have increased. If you can talk about, people retention, if you can talk about customer retention and customer satisfaction, if you can talk about some system that has gone for a certain number of days live and it hasn't had glitches, if you can talk about reducing the number of accidents and incidences, whatever it is, if you can put a number to it, think of as many things that are relevant, guys, remember, relevant to this role that you can put down, so that in your language, the entire time, guys, I wish somebody had videos like this at the time when I was going out there throwing myself out in the market, but grateful to God for how things turned out. So you keep mentioning, I saved, I reduced, I increased, that you were able to turn things around. Maybe the organization was doing this, but when you came in, you were able to take it to this point. Maybe they were losing here, but you came in and you stopped that bleeding for the organization. Maybe, they were just in one market, but you were able to, through a carefully thought out plan, you were able to pivot their strategy, and they're now in several markets and they're doing better. Maybe they had just the one product, but with you coming along, you are able to help them diversify and therefore reduce, risk with just this one, or maybe they were just targeting this element. Now they offer end-to-end services. think of as many things, which to you maybe it may just be second nature or it's just a thing that I do, as many things as you can think of you really shining, of really showing your value. Real examples for where you had worked before. Write those down because you're going to negotiate, number one, based on value more than anything else. Negotiating your role and your package is not just about the money. Who would have thought? Letting you know. Okay. Then number 3, do your market research. Like I said before, recruiters usually know just by mentioning your roles what that job entailed. So your cover letter and your CV weren't about the tasks that you did. They weren't about the activities. Thank you so much for those hearts. Like, caught my breath with all the hearts that you just sent, whoever did, right back. They know what you did. So just by mentioning roles, just as the recruiters know what you did, just by mentioning the job title, and of course you get to look at the vacancy, right, and the job description, you can search that and see what other organizations pay. Now, I want you to have this as a caution. Just because you can search and you see some sites like Glassdoor and Salary.com and the likes, please remember that a lot of these, even if you may get a feel for what the package is for a role such as yours, right? Because they don't vary that much. Roles, similar roles in similar organizations and similar departments, you find that people do more or less the same thing, but it may change between market and market. And so if I'm talking to somebody in a certain market, let's say you're in East Africa, and maybe West Africa, or you're talking about Europe, or you're talking about, in Asia and Latin America, North America, Australia, they may be different market environments. So make sure when you're comparing what this pay is like, for this position, you're also comparing in comparable markets. They're not all going to be the same. Kelvin, so good to see you here. Welcome, right? So you're also comparing markets. You can't say, well, they pay this in New York, honey child. We're not in New York. So don't even go there. Look at what you are, what similar positions pay and the context you're in. But you do not stop there. You do not just go with what everybody's being paid. You will find a range, right? And it's usually gross figure, that is before, the taxes and all the other statutory obligations and the contributions that you make as an employee, or if it is a consultant or a business, that you would as a legal entity. So there's usually a range between a certain figure per year to a certain figure per year. Look at that, and then given the fact that at number 2, you already looked at the value that you bring, you can then say where you see yourself. Now, this is all the work you're doing before you negotiate. You do not think and start speaking on the spot at the negotiation table. Please. Everything I'm speaking about here is what you do before you show up when they say, hey, we're ready to make you an offer. By the way, that's the other thing. Do not be the first one to mention money or negotiation for that matter. When you're called in and you have been assessed, so far you're on a winning streak. The fact that all your documents have been reviewed and they still want to have a conversation with you, the fact that you were assessed and you came in and you spoke and you've aced that interview means they really like you. Because I will tell you, on a very modest estimation, I would say 70% to 80% of candidates never make it. So the fact that you made an interview and you're being called in for negotiation, that's a big deal. So now you've looked at the market salary package range for these types of engagements, whether it is you, the individual, it's your business, or you as a consultant, right? If you're freelancing and you're out there going out as a consultant on your own, and you've compared it to the value that you bring, you now, what did I write here? Number 4, state a figure, right? You found out that the market, thank you so much. Somebody said, bless you, Modesta. Bless you, amen. Bless you too. So the range starts from this lower range to this range for similar positions in my market. For similar positions in my market. Okay. Now, knowing my value, right? You looked at your value, you saw that you did better than most people in your department. I am assuming here, by the way, guys, that I'm speaking to top performance. I'm assuming that I'm speaking to people that are really committed and they have proven themselves over the years, because I speak to leaders. So I'm assuming the fact that you got into a leadership position, the fact that you have your own business and you have people under you, that you are a person that delivers. Therefore, it will not be a problem for you to state your value when you're at the negotiation table. So look at where you think you lie on this range. Do not offer a range. Do not say, I was thinking between this and between this. You should mention a specific figure that you would like. And that figure that you mention is not just where you think you lie on that range, where you think is really the value that you bring on that market range of people or businesses that get paid for this role. You're going to up it some. You're going to consider your career plan. You're going to consider your financial and professional and family personal goals, and you're going to negotiate something that will be above that, not crazily above that, but that would make you also comfortable. That will make you show up at this engagement every day just whistling, just doing and dancing through. You want to be comfortable. So you will look at where you believe you deserve, and then you will up it some. So I would say now, guys, I negotiate, right? So I'm not going to up it a little bit. People say maybe up it to, maybe if it's US dollars, it's like 5,000 over your annual, right, income. Now yours truly here, anywho, I would do like 10,000 over. But don't get cocky. Do what would make you thrilled, and you understand that you deserve, because you know your value, and the market actually is within what the market offers. If you believe you are at the top end of that range, you negotiate the top end of that range. Because the entire time in your conversation, you are showing your value, qualitative and quantitative metrics, that this is what I have been able to do for others. I found them here. I took them there in this number of years. This was happening. I was able to restructure, and now this is the direction they were getting. This is where they were in the market, and right now with my intervention, they got to this point in the market. They're now leading in this segment, or they're leading the market entirely. This is not the time to be shy, but you need to have done your research, and you need to know how to communicate your value. And so if you believe in that range, that you are at the top end of that range, you ask for the top end, but not that figure. You ask one up on that, a certain number above the very top you have seen that market will offer. And your market research, came from doing web searches. It comes from speaking to other people in the industry who actually have that role, or people who are recruiting, or somebody in an organization that understands what the pay is for a similar position. So when you come in and you mention that figure, you know what you're saying. I want you to then have that ideal figure, right? The one that makes you do a jig and dance on your way to work every day. And then I want you to have a figure where you're like, I know I'm comfortable with this. This is fair for my skill set, my experience, the value I would bring, I would be comfortable with this. So the first is like ideal, I will never leave you guys. Well, I'm, exaggerating type of figure, but just the one figure. You mention that first, and then you see how it plays out. Should you have to negotiate down, you negotiate to what yeah, I'm comfortable with it. I'm going to be fine with it. Now, listen to this. Now, or I'm sorry, our pay is not flexible. These are our ranges, and they're determined at the beginning of the year, and we have this for every year. Calm yourself down. And you said, again, you speak about value. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I do understand at the moment, the economies are hit, and right now with coronavirus, it is, it is rough all around. So thank you so much for being so candid, and thank you for opening up to the fact that the organization is going through that. Then now, you had mentioned the ideal figure, right? The one that makes you do a jig, the one that makes you dance. Then you mentioned the figure where you believe you are worth. And if that is a top figure, it's a top figure, mention the top figure. But they still come back to you and tell you, maybe they did negotiate a little bit, but they tell you we cannot do any more than this. Do not drum at it, because listen, I'm going to say this again, right? Your cover letter made it through the assessment. Your CV made it through. You interviewed and aced the interview. They want you. They sincerely do want you. Don't blow it at the negotiation table. Do not come out like that great person who was talking about their values and how they share your values, talking about the kind of work environment you like being in. And that's just the type of work environment. And then all of a sudden you're like holding their throats about a couple of, thousands, or a couple of hundreds of thousands, if it's shillings, calm down, switch it up a little bit. Also do your research before the negotiation table about benefits. Are there are there options? Are there stocks? Do you get a car and your fuel? Do you get what are some of the things that also come with this package that you can have a conversation about? So you can negotiate on stocks. If you're talking about markets, you can negotiate on benefits. Maybe it's things that facilitate your work. Maybe it could be I'm trying to think of other things. Maybe the type of medical cover. If you feel like, oh my, that's a lot of my money goes towards that with my family. Maybe it is you talking about getting experience in other markets, and that would be paid for, that you get seconded. Think of the other things that usually come with a pay package and where you can negotiate on those. Because it's not just the net, although that is important, and I'm asking you, do not play. Because I already told you, whatever is being considered in salary reviews, whatever you're going to get as an increment at the end of the year will never compare to if you had negotiated right in the first place. So we're not playing with the actual pay, that we're negotiating at the very beginning. But there are other things that come with that package that are more than just that are different, and also of value, of monetary value as well sometimes. So ask about the benefits as well. Do that. And you've mentioned, that the figure that you would be comfortable with anyway, like you studied the market, you asked around, and that's where, in that range, that's where your capabilities and your value actually is worth. You can start having this conversation about, okay, let's say, and I appreciate, let's say somebody's told you the economy it won't allow us, and you're aware of that. We are in times of crisis, so a lot of businesses are hit. A lot of companies are not able to do what they could. Maybe they're tightening up because they just don't know how long this will play out. Ask them then where they believe you are a person of value, which they do because you've gotten to a point where you're negotiating, right? Ask them, would they be willing to review, so whatever it is, let's say you've settled for, and settling, I don't mean you completely compromise, that you're resentful, because that's on you. Do not do that. This is an equal negotiation. Yes, they're the employer, or maybe they're the contracting company, and your business is the one that is being evaluated. Still, you're about to offer a service in return, for pay, and they need you as much as you need them. So now listen, Facebook, you might go off a little bit. I'll switch you back on in a minute. So you can then have a conversation saying, would you be in a position to review? Let me ignore the limit for Facebook, and you're back. Would you be in a position to review this pay in 6 months' time, where I have proven myself to really excel at this role? If they reason why agree to what you were asking is economic, We understand that the business cycle, changes, and that perhaps in 6 months' time, this organization will be in a completely different place. And so usually if that is so, they should say, yes. And you've proven yourself to be a top performer. You're at a place where you're negotiating pay. They should say, yes, we can review in 6 months' time. Don't leave it there. Ask them then if they would have it written down, even if their reviews are usually at the end of the year, that they would have it written down, that they would consider reviewing your performance in 6 months' time, and they would write it down on the dotted line, and they will tell you specifically what would be that excelling, that over-the-top, awesome, outstanding performance. Because if you do not have it, number one, written down on the dotted line when you are negotiating, if it's not in your package, people will be like, oh, I'm sorry, we just didn't think. That they would write down that, they can't pay you what you're asking for at the moment, but they will consider your performance in 6 months' time, so that they would consider a review of your pay in 6 months' time, even if you haven't served the entire year. And then, get assessed during performance reviews, usually at the end of the year. And they're going to tell you specifically what outstanding performance would be. That way, it's written in, and you can make sure when you show up, when you start this role, you are going for those numbers. Especially ask them to write down. So what are the numbers? What percentages when you hit them? What figures? Get them to be able to quantify as well, in terms of qualitative performance, but especially when you can get figures, because then you know what you're aiming for. So have that conversation with them and have them write down, if you hit this target and that target and that target, we will then, reconsider, we will review your performance and, and review pay. Now, they may not be committing to exactly how much more they would give you then, which is why you need to negotiate well from the very beginning, right? They will probably not write that down, that we're going to give you this extra if you hit all the targets. No, because you do not know, even if you hit the targets, whether that economic situation that they claim is the reason why they cannot give you the pay would have changed. But they will be willing, if you're a top candidate and you have proven yourself thus far, they will be willing to review your pay based on your performance, especially where they've written it down on the dotted line on your contract, and they've told you exactly what outstanding performance would be in their estimation. So you can go with that, as long as maybe you're looking at the stocks, you're looking at some options that you have, you're looking at other benefits that come with the package of the pay that you can negotiate as well. Consider this, and I said this a little earlier. You can also negotiate working terms. So maybe this role, welcome to Ellie, welcome John. Maybe this role requires travel. Maybe this role requires, your absence for a while. You can ask as much as you can, and it is on you to do that. It is on you to ask how much travel. It is on you to ask let's say it's one of these, operational roles where you're overseeing overseeing operations, for lack of a better word, or maybe it's a sales and marketing role, or maybe it's a PR and a corporate representation role where you need to be called in, on hours that are after 5, before 8, on the weekends, or extended travel. If it is something that you want to negotiate, maybe for the sake of your family, this is why when I was talking about career planning, my people, remember it's so important. Your personal goals, your professional goals, your financial goals. You can also have conversations about room to get promoted, room to take on added responsibility, to be reviewed for higher positions, to be reviewed for regional engagements. These are conversations when you start negotiating that you can bring to the table. Do not just leave it at the figure that you want. Because sometimes you could get the figure that you want on terms you are not comfortable engaging with that organization with, and it's on you. Money until they initiate conversation about money. Number 7, should you be in the middle, in the fortunate position where several organizations would like to engage you, and so they, you're sitting there with several offers. This is a sensitive one. You can mention, if you are just considering working with this organization, not when you already work for them. Well, don't. When you're already engaged with them and you want to have your pay reviewed and your package reviewed, don't mention other organizations that you're considering. But if this is just you starting out with them, you can say, at the moment I have, I also have several offers. If you think, they're from really significant organizations that are their competitors, you can mention the name. And not to say, look, I'm hot stuff, so you better nab me while you have me. No. With humility, you really need to have humility intact and can say, so I'm considering several offers at the moment. Don't put it like such that I'm bargaining on money, because you gave them the impression at the interview. The fact that they even have you here is that you gave the impression at the interview stage that you would really love to work with them, that you have narrowed down this organization as the place because it matches your values, it matches, where you're going and what, the service that you want to bring to the industry, to the economy. So now to start to say, well, and I'm also entertaining all these other people. So do it with wisdom, with humility, with tact, that you're actually considering others and at the moment, and these are the kind of offers that you have at the table. But you really really hope that, given the value that you bring, keep going back to the value that you bring, which you have proven so far in your cover letter, in your CV, at the interview stage, which you aced. Given the value that you had brought to these organizations in the past, how you help them save, how you help them earn, how you changed their culture, how you expanded their business. Keep going back to that, because that's what's important. Not just, I've done my market research, I know this is how much I can get paid, I've looked at what other organizations do. Bring it back to you. This is what I've done for them, and I would really love the opportunity to do this with you. But I'm also considering this. I've been interviewing with other organizations, and this is what's at the table at the moment. But I really pray that this will be able to work out, because I mean it. And I'd like you can use language like, I would like you to consider this an investment, knowing my track record, knowing what I've done, and honestly, you can check with my reviewers, my referees, or anybody else in those organizations. I can truly tell you that when I come in, I'm able to bring this kind of value to you. So to you, it's an investment. And the return on investment that you're going to get from having me on your team is this. You can mention, I am able to do this for you. I have done this, and especially if it's been for competitors before, and this is what I bring. And so I really would like you to consider the value, again, value, humming the value, drumming the value that you bring to the role. But let me tell you this as well. When all is said and done, and you see and you feel as if what they're saying it's just not going to work out, given your plans, your career, your financial, your family plans, given what you had earned before, and you've considered the benefits, and you've even considered your career trajectory with them. There are people and there are situations where you might agree to take on less than ideal, because you see the potential for growth. You see the potential for getting into leadership. You see the potential for it. Some of it could even be that, this organization will take you through graduate, education, that you will get to have regional exposure, which is really key for where you're going in your career. When you consider your career plans, even if it may not be the ideal for your financial plans, but it will certainly leapfrog your progress in your career, you might consider taking that. So you're going to weigh all of this. You're going to look at your career progression plans. You're going to look at your financial plans. You're going to look at your family plans, and then decide, You're also going to consider the benefits. You're going to consider the market that you're in. You're going to consider the fact that, should they have shown flexibility and are willing to review your performance and your pay in 6 months' time. Weigh out all these things. Even ask for time away. Let's say you want to go back and have this conversation with your spouse. You want to have a conversation with a mentor, a coach, have a conversation with a significant other person. Maybe they're an HR personnel. Maybe they're a person that is in leadership in a department similar to the one that you're about to join in a role similar to the one that you're in, and they're seasoned and they're wise. Ask to go back and consider this offer, not to have the pressure of having to answer immediately before them. And go back and have that conversation. If you are comfortable, come back and tell them you're ready to proceed. If you are not, you can graciously say, I would have loved to engage with this organization. I see who you are. I see where you're going. I see what you have done and how far you brought this organization. Why? Because remember, guys, I was talking about how you do the research, not just on the industry, on the organization. A lot of people have a lot of information on their websites. They have their annual plans. They have not just their past, even their future plans on site. You can possibly have conversations with them. So by now, and throughout these interview stages, you've had conversations, and you can say, I would have loved to engage with you, but I'm unable to take this offer as it stands. Please do consider me in future when things turn around. And so, whether it's what they're saying is because of the economy that we couldn't consider you, or for whatever other reason. Or some people will say, well, there's several people in this role and they all get paid this. And listen, don't get threatened by many people on this role and they all get paid this. I'm not like many people. I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. So if that's what you're looking for, then please proceed with the many that are all getting paid what you want. I know what kind of contribution I can bring, not theoretical. I can prove it from past performance. So no need to get antagonistic, no need to get attitude-y. Is that a new word? But you can graciously say thank you. It would have been wonderful for me to engage with you, but on those terms, I'm unable to proceed. Please do keep my name, my file on record, and let's revisit this conversation sometime in future. I will certainly check in with you. Should I be should you have roles that would fit my profile, and should I then be in a position in the market again sometime in future for us to have a conversation, because I really believe in the work that you do and the values that you stand for and the difference that you bring to the market. Thank you again so very much. If you remember all the other people that you've engaged with, please mention the guard, mention the receptionist, mention the panelists that had interviewed you, mention whoever else that came across. Thank them again so very much for this. And I look forward to connecting with you again in future. And you walk away. And you can even send in a thank you note thereafter. And that's it. Modesta, but I let go of an opportunity. Yes, but you are not going to be able to live with the terms for the opportunity. You didn't just show up and pick up a number out of the blue. You had thought through your life. You had thought through your career progression goals. You had thought through your financial goals. You had thought through your family goals. You thought through all of that. You went and did your market research. You know what the ranges are, and you know where you lie on this range. For package, for salary, for benefits, for this kind of role. You know your value. You know what you would do. Had you come in and worked with them, and you were as flexible as you could be. You thought of your ideal figure. You thought of the figure that you'd be comfortable with. You thought of all kinds of things that you could compromise. Maybe what are the benefits, and can you review after 6 months? You did all that you could do to meet this organization at a place where it would be of mutual benefit and that you would be able to proceed. And if that is not possible, just amicably walk away from the engagement. I have walked away several times, both in a job context, jobs in plural, and in a situation where now I am the person who is looking for people and weren't able to reach a compromise. I have been able to walk away. And there are times people come back and say, look, I've rethought that. And maybe at that point you would still consider them. Maybe you're thinking, no, that's all right, I've gotten something else. But do allow and understand, in life you won't always, as much as it would be ideal, you won't always go with everything that comes your way. You might choose a different path and other people choose a path. Maybe it'll lead back, to having conversation again. Maybe it will not. But one thing I'll tell you, do not burn bridges. Whether you're the business, I recently had an engagement where somebody looked for me. They wanted me to offer coaching services for a while. Not me as Modesta and Purposeful Excellence. No, they thought, what I was asking for wasn't reasonable. They actually just stopped communicating. They didn't say, so sorry, they just cut off. Like they had a tantrum and they sulked and they walked away. So obviously I'm not going to try to engage with that organization in the future, because they look like they ditched their people, and I don't want to be part of people that ditch people. So leave graciously, leave generously, leave with maturity and professionalism, and maybe your paths will cross in the future. I have also had situations where I was able to recommend people I couldn't proceed with, both as an employer and organizations that are looking for people that I, could not come, agree with in terms. I was able to recommend other people to them simply because we left, well. And so you never know what that the way you leave the negotiation table, you never know what impression that leaves. You never know what that'll do for you. I mean, sometimes by doing that, somebody will come back out. Like, what are you? Like, how could you, you missed out on that opportunity, but you look for somebody for us. They ended up turning out well. This has happened so many times. And, you remain in good relationship, in good books, and you would be the first person they would consider for future engagements. Now, I want to say this real quick. Thank you. You're so welcome. If you are already engaged with an organization and you think it's high time that your salary was reviewed, your terms were reviewed, you can go through a similar process. But do remember, to prove your value, do not assume, I've worked with them, they know. Don't assume anything, even if this is your very supervisor that you meet and have conversations with daily. Don't assume anything, which means throughout the year and years, you note down the value that you bring, because there comes a time when you won't remember, especially when you're a top performer, you're a top achiever. You won't remember everything that you do because you just do it as second nature. You're just great. You just naturally are. And to you, it just might be, it's just a thing I do. I just do it. I do it for the team. I do it for the people. Please note down all those things which you think are just, I do it and anybody else would also do it for me. No, don't assume that. Write down what value that you add every time. Thank you, Stella. Every time that you add value, you do something, you've saved something, maybe you've assisted others, everything. Write that down so that when it comes to you negotiating, of course, the proper channels would be to wait for, a performance review cycle. Then you can show what it is you've done. Remember, if you can measure it, it's better. Don't just talk through it. Tell them, there's no one else in our department that's doing this. What I have done, I am the only one that was able to turn this around. It is not putting your colleagues down. You're not mentioning people by name. You're not saying, but you're truly saying, FYI, I know we're many in the department and we're doing, interconnected, interrelated jobs, and we have interrelated roles. But this is the significance of my role, not just a role, but my contribution. And so at this juncture, I would like to, be considered for, and you mention a figure, not a range, mention a figure that you have checked out in the market. You've probably checked out your organization as well. You've looked at their salary range and you know what they're flexible with. And you mention where you believe you should be. Even if you're not there at the moment, mention, given my contribution, given the value that I brought this organization since blah, 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 having done this, in this year or this quarter, and then this and this quarter and this quarter, and I was recognized for this, and I was given, company shares for this, and I was promoted for this, and I represent the organization for this. I am repeatedly called on to act as, the head, the supervisor, whatever for this. Then, I would like to, and then you go through the similar process. So you remember your plan, number one. Number two, you know your value and you can state your value, quantifiable, right? Come up with metric, come up with those figures. Number three, you've done your research, both online to see what in your organization similar positions are paid, but also you've had conversations with people, possibly in that organization, but if not, in similar organizations that have similar roles. Number 4, you stated a figure, a specific figure that you would like. Don't come up with a range and don't leave it for them to say. People, annual reviews are not going to give you anything that you're going to get like you would should you negotiate. That whole thing of, waiting according to inflation, and then we bump up a little based on everybody's aggregate. You're not doing that. Recruiter's going to hate me. Please don't hate me, guys. We need to help candidates out here. We need to help people negotiate right so that we don't have attrition. People leaving their organization, people acting funny. Anyway, moving on. Number 5, you've asked about other benefits, right? You negotiating your pay. You can also negotiate other benefits that you currently are not enjoying in your role. Number 6, you've asked for a review. So yes, you've done the annual review, and they say, oh, well, we don't know. Just say, listen, tell me what top performance is. Can you write it down? And can you write down that you would actually review my pay based on my performance in 6 months' time? And then you go and you give it your all, so that in 6 months' time, they're like, wow, undeniable. If they say they can't give you more in the role that you're in, then they better promote you. If they still want to keep in that organization, they should promote you. If you have offers from elsewhere, please don't tell them, but just listen to them. If you have added value and they know your value and they're playing with you, remember your career plan. Remember your purpose, guys. Who are you? Where are you going? What do you want out of life? I just read something and I posted it on Instagram, like I reposted it on Instagram. Somebody said, I've been praying for over 20 years, but it's when I prayed with my legs that I saw things happen, meaning when he took action, when he went and did things, that he saw things happen. So if he's hanging around a place, they're not listening, they're not seeing your value, you've proven your value over and over. You've not proven because of performance, you've stated your value. And they're still dancing around, that ain't the place for you. Make moves. Because your career progression is 100% on you. It's not on your supervisor, it's not on your manager, it's not on your boss's boss, it's on you. It's not on the economy, it's on you, which is why there are people who will do very well even when the economy isn't doing well, like we are right now in times of crisis. FYI. You do, like I said, you don't mention other organizations, but you're able to show your value and everything. They can go and get second or third opinion. Should they think differently? Start preparing your exit. Exit when you are a top performer. Exit when you've added the greatest value. They have no choice but to give you a good review. Even if somebody try to make up a thing about you, which hopefully they will not, because you have had the right attitude at work the entire time. Unlike Modesta, what you had at first, so that's another story for another day. Move on. You've proven yourself the entire time, and you see that this organization is taking you nowhere fast. Make moves when you are still hot. Make moves when they're still so grateful to have you on the team. Don't bluff it. Don't threaten. And don't do 24-hour stunts. This isn't a bad breakup, please. You give them the month, if the month is what they give you. If you're in senior leadership, you give them 3 months, if that's what you do. And you make sure you've done the greatest handover in the history of all handovers, that anybody, you prepared your successors, which you should have done as soon as you got your role. You should always prepare your successors. Sometimes people don't let go of you to take on another role because they cannot imagine anybody else on the team that can do things as well as you, which is why you're generous your entire time and you always prepare your successor. You prepared your successors. You've written down everything. Like, people just read what you left and they understand exactly what that role is and what they have to do. And you thank everybody graciously and you are out to the next place. You're not married to that job, people. No matter how far you've come and where you're going, no, you are not. So if you have reviewed your career progression and your financial goals and your family goals, and this place is not taking you there, no matter how much you've shown your value, no matter how much you've given them, it's time you say goodbye. We're still on a high. Who knew I had rapping skills? Look, I've got a question here as I wind up. Stella asks, what do you answer when they ask, are you interviewing currently? When who asks? Oh, when they, Oh, so if they're asking if you're interviewing with other people. Well, if you just to the organization, you say yes. Thank you for asking. Yes, I'm actually considering 3 other offers. Literally, if you've got 3, you're like, yeah, I've interviewed with 3 other organizations, and they're coming to me with offers. If you've been working at a place and they're asking if you're interviewing currently, you say, honestly, I've always been open to see how I can grow with an organization that that I share values, and we're moving in the same direction. You don't have to say yes, I am. You can just say, honestly, I understand. That. I seek growth, and I'm open to having conversations with organizations that we share values and that are going in the same direction as like I have been with you. You didn't say these lives for recruiters. I need to do some of these lives for businesses, because businesses also act funny. So yeah, sometimes they're being funny. Sometimes they're acting up. They're trying to hold like they check on them remotely. Shame on you. But the others who just feel comfortable to seeing warm bodies that are warming up their seats. But the honest truth, give people leverage. Give people what to do. Trust that they know what they're doing. Otherwise, don't hire them. Like, if you can't trust them, don't bring them. I'm not going to work with anybody I don't trust. Trust them. As soon as I don't trust them, they gotta go. What's the point of continuing with them, right? So yeah, just. If they're not serious about you, then you don't have to, divulge too much about your life and your plans. You can say something that is neutral, like, I'm open to growth and working with organizations that make impact. And you guys know that about me. I always seek to see how I can add value, and so I'm not closed-minded or whatever. Just use good language. Maybe I'm not using the best right now, guys. I hope this has been of value to you. That you can negotiate to win, and that negotiation isn't just about the pay, and negotiation isn't just about the role. Now there's so many ways that you can manage this entire relationship for not just this opportunity, and so you can negotiate and do well here, but to potentially also open doors for yourself in future. But how are you going to get to a place where you can negotiate to win? Prepare. Research. Know who you are, where you want to go, have a plan, know your value, state it succinctly, confidently, understand where you lie, mention a very specific figure, and do the dance. It is an art and a science, negotiation is, and be willing to give a little, because maybe you're getting something else, maybe not the actual ching, but in benefits and career progression. But if none of what you're looking for in your career, in your finances, and the arrangement that would work for you and your family, be willing to maturely, professionally, graciously, generously say goodbye. And with that, I end with this. Please do subscribe on Purpose and Excellence on YouTube, because I have clustered, I have organized like videos in playlists. So you can find this video on career success and on negotiate to win. Those 2 playlists will have these videos, and they will all be clustered according to topics that are related. I believe in you. I believe I'm speaking to future leaders if you're not already in leadership. And I believe that you're going to get into positions of strategic leadership and decision making. And because I know I'm speaking to people that excel in their field, please never throw yourself out there that you don't have value, like you need a favor. Please don't come in with a sad story. Come in with a proven delivery, because I know that every single person that's watching this has already proven themselves. Recall every single thing you've done right that you can quantify, and put it down and negotiate with that. And don't get greedy. Remember, you're in it for the long haul. You're not just in it for the quick buck. So negotiate across different areas so you can see your career progression and financial goals being met, as well as your family commitments. All right. From me, that was it for today. Thank you so very much. Much love. I'm going to have this on YouTube. It's already on YouTube because I'm broadcasting live. Please go back to this video and share. I wouldn't understand if I just have individuals by themselves doing this thing, coming to me live, coming to me for advice, and you're not sharing Please, we need every single person that is able to get these tips, these tools, the strategies, that is able to get the confidence to negotiate well. And across all the other topics that I usually come on to you guys with, share this with them so that we can grow together and excel together. Have a wonderful, wonderful start to your week. Much love. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye. Ending stream. Goodbye.